Welcome to Brief, the Builder and Real Estate Forum. Co-founders Heidi Hawk and Scott Dunn started Brief during the COVID-19 stay-at-home order. This forum is a resource hub of industry-related briefs, collaborations, and connections for builders, developers, and real estate investors. We also want to do a huge shout out to our sponsor, Investor Lab, a community of real estate entrepreneurs committed to each other's success. Investor Lab hosts events with community-powered education, authentic dialogue, and opportunities to lead and inspire. To learn more about Brief, follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn, and Investor Lab on Facebook and Instagram at PDX Investor Lab or investorlab.com.
Hey, thanks, Jen. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for attending Brief. Gosh, this is really exciting. It's our first Builder and Real Estate Forum webinar series. This is all about building greater value to your real estate investment business. So whether you're a builder, developer, real estate investor, this is where you want to be as a hub for your resources. Today's 4 topics are going to be a little bit regarding your real estate investment market. So hot topic here in our lovely COVID-19 stay-at-home order is landlords' dues and some don'ts. We're going to cover the new tax law, the new laws for 1031 exchanging, also some virtual marketing things that can be done to help you guys close deals, as well as getting to know your internal business. So you guys really want to get your internal business in order. Now is the time. So we're going to be covering a little bit of that. Until we get to that, I want to give you guys a brief moment of who's on our panel. I'm so excited about the 4 panelists. They've been a part of my life, gosh, throughout my whole real estate career, which is a long time. First, I want to introduce you guys to Melissa Galland. She is the Director of Marketing for Adair Homes. She's very, very passionate about her marketing and her experience that spans into 2 decades. I have personally hired her when I was a sales and marketing director for a local, regional, as well as national home builder. And it was absolutely one of the greatest experiences I ever had. What impressed me most about Melissa was her obsession in the details, the data, and finding changes that allowed us to grow our business so that we could get more buyers coming into our new home communities. And our traffic just amplified when she was working with us. It also allowed my team to close more deals. She's going to give us some really great tips today in regards to using virtual marketing and how to get home buyers knocking at your door. So Melissa, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Heidi.
The other person I'd like to introduce you guys to is Mike Nuss, co-founder of RareBird Property Management, also Investor Lab, phenomenal. I've known Mike for a few years. I met him through a networking event, RareBird Investment Real Estate way back then. I think you guys have now changed it to Investor Lab. He is one of the most well-educated people that I know for the Portland real estate market, and especially when it comes to property management. We're dealing with so many different rules and regulations that are happening, and everything, as we know, is tenant focused. Mike is really coming in from firsthand knowledge on the landlord-tenant policy for the city of Portland. So he's going to really give us some solid input to what we can do as landlords in guiding us as property owners and managing through all the red tape. Mike, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. The next one is Doug Blackwell. Doug is a VP of Major Accounts for IPX 1031 Exchange. I love his motto, get the facts before you pay the tax, and rightly so. He's provided counseling and guidance and execution with regard to the Internal Revenue Code Section 1031 Exchange, having been personally involved in over 16,000 1031 exchange transactions, you guys. Over his 20 years, he knows his stuff and brings a wealth of knowledge to you and the structuring of real estate deals in order for you guys to obtain your highest tax efficiency through 1031 exchanging. Doug, thanks for being here today.
So excited to be here, Heidi. Thanks for having me part of this.
Always. And then we've got Tiny Irwin, entrepreneur, operating system, business coach, and implementer. I saw Tiny on a virtual marketing video, you guys, on LinkedIn. And I was like, wow, he was interviewing one of our regional leaders in the banking industry, Steve Watts. And the issues that Tiny was covering was so impressive to me that I actually reached out to him via LinkedIn. We connected, and I'm just honored to have Tiny here. He's been an executive over 20 years in the business-to-business space, who now is sharing his knowledge with all people in our industry, entrepreneurs, business leaders, like many of you guys are. And he's able to really help us and guide us in coaching through what we want to get out of our companies. That's so critical, especially today when we're living in a world of conducting business virtually, and how we're going to move into this in the next 6 to 9 to 12 months and beyond. Tiny, thank you so much for being here. And we, again, appreciate you participating on our webinar.
Oh, absolutely, Heidi. Thanks for having me.
So everybody, again, welcome. Let's get started. Note to you guys all, we will be asking questions. It's going to be really our format is more of a general conversation. Please provide your questions if you have them. We're going to have time for Q&A. Also, I want to make sure that you guys will get the list of panel members and all their contact information for all of you that have participated. We'll be sending that out to you in a PDF format. Alrighty, Scotty, are you there?
I am.
Awesome. Let's go ahead. I know you've been chomping at the bit to ask questions, so
Hey,
let's go ahead and have you
well,
lead the
thank you.
way. All
Did a
right.
great job. I appreciate that. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for coming. You know, in our teaser question we had for you a few days ago was really talking about the clear change of the coronavirus and some of the opportunity that we see in all of our businesses. So, you know, we really would like you just to touch on that, kind of start things off here and just share with us where you see that opportunity is, because clearly there's some question and confusion on, you know, where we go in our own businesses right now. And certainly anybody who wants to answer that first, go ahead.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take a crack at it. So kind of the opportunity is like in the property management side, communication's key, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So education-based sales, that's kind of how we look at it. You can freely educate people, and that is a free marketing expense, right? And so when you bring good education to people right now, you're bringing clarity in a time of uncertainty, and that makes people feel safe, makes them feel secure. That really, you know, applies to COVID right now, but it also applies to just Portland and the state of Oregon over the past couple of years as we've seen a lot of changes. So right now it's just diving in on that. It's communication, certainty, and clarity. And if you give people that certainty and clarity, they feel safe.
Great. Thank you.
Well,
Doug,
So
you have
Mike,
a response on
yeah,
that?
Doug, what do you got to say on that? Because I know you've got a lot of things that you've been seeing as well.
We because of COVID-19, you know, that has happened in 3.5 weeks, and it seems like it's a 3-year event got compressed into 3.5 weeks. But this wind is blowing on everybody, and like Mike said, you know, education for people is where I'm coming into play. We have to, because everybody's blinded right now. They're in the forest, and whatever our industry, whatever expertise we have, I don't have time to sit there and say it's an extraordinary, unprecedented time. I have to say it's an unprecedented time. Let's do something about it. And there's going to be opportunities that are being presented from the 1031 side. Definitely going to cover that in this little short time we're together today, but big time things are changing in my world.
Awesome. So I want to go ahead and have Melissa bring in a couple questions, because I know we're going to get into some of these different categories, but more importantly, I think what we're looking at here with everybody is how do we take what we're doing virtually, including ourselves, Scott and I, are learning as we go, and any input with you guys, we totally appreciate your feedback. But with trying to get people knocking at our doors virtually, I don't care what industry of this particular industry we're at, but in anything, what are you doing, Melissa, to give the potential home buyers that experience of being in a home or being able to be interactive with the salespeople, and still respecting all the stay-at-home order, or even when this is lifted, what are you guys looking at doing to move into this?
Yeah, thanks, Heidi. And I will say, I think Mike and Doug definitely hit the nail on the head there. Education for us, even before COVID, was a big thing. It's more important now than ever. So we're hosting more virtual events. Previously, we did virtual events on a bi-monthly basis. This past April, we hosted 6 virtual events, and we saw an overwhelming response. This is something people crave, this kind of connection. And it's something anyone can do. So if you're a realtor or a builder, you can do it with a free Zoom account. All you really need is a smartphone. Heidi's doing it from her smartphone today. So it
First time.
it doesn't have to be a fancy setup. And then again, as Mike touched on, the communication, connecting personally with customers and connecting on a consistent basis. That's what you need to do. And one way that we're doing it is definitely pick up the phone. I think that phone communication has gone by the wayside. People's inboxes are overflowing now with messages on everyone's COVID response. So pick up the phone and call people right now. It sounds easy,
for sure.
But not enough people are doing it. Also, there's video email. If you're gonna send an email, you need to personalize it. And how you can do that is by embedding a video into your email. I was curious on that. Is there an app that's super easy to use for that? Yeah, so I recommend both BombBomb, and that's like bomb exploding, literally.
Yeah,
so
I just looked at that yesterday.
BombBomb and Google's Cloud HQ both have a free application that you can use as you're getting started, and it makes it so simple to embed video. You're not trying to add it as an attachment, which can really block you from some inboxes. So it's a really good tool. Yeah, and then virtual meetings like what we're doing right now, definitely lots of those. We're meeting with customers instead of just having your meeting on the phone. If you are a salesperson who historically has sold face-to-face, finding a way to get face-to-face in the current times is really important. And we were very lucky because at Adair Homes, we switched to operating virtual appointments shortly before all of this. So we were all set up. But again, all you need for a virtual appointment is a free Zoom account, a cell phone. You can FaceTime with people. There's Google Hangouts. There's lots of options for that.
So I have a question for you. Because Adair Homes is pretty unique in their philosophy of how they sell homes. For those of you who don't know, you can go to adairhomes.com. But they do mostly what's called like build on your lot. The home buyer or the homeowner has to have the lot. With that being said, you're in a market that's not all millennials and technology can be hard. I actually have some of my clients who text and that's about it. So how are you overcoming these objections, or how are you overcoming those buyers, obviously of being on the phone? Are you coaching them through how to use the apps? And if so, what are some of the easiest apps that you guys are finding to use with the buyers that might be technologically, I'd say at the kindergarten level?
Well, I have to say that's one of the gifts of COVID, right? Because it makes it to a point where, I'm on the phone with, you're on the phone with grandparents. Grandparents want to see their grandkids. So people are figuring out the technology right now. And the good news is it's really easy, but we like to send out, before a virtual meeting is scheduled, we have some tips, like here's how you can do it easily. And so that people aren't fearful.
Nice.
You can let your customers turn their camera off if they're not comfortable, but then they can still see you and you can use that expression to sell. So.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Any collaboration that maybe, Mike, you guys might be using, or Tiny, because I know you both have people that it's been very successful for both of you, being able to get some people knocking at your doors. Are you using BombBomb, or is there other apps that you're using that maybe we could share with some of our audience here?
Heidi, you found me on LinkedIn, and so I've been doing a lot on LinkedIn, a lot on Facebook pages, Instagram, because I found that people have a lot of time right now, and they have a lot of time, and they're scrolling through different apps. And so I'm taking what I'm doing and I'm using those different apps. I'm one of those guys. I haven't experimented with TikTok yet, and so maybe, I don't know. But the technology options right now are limitless, which is awesome, because now you can hit people from all different ages and wherever they're at in life. So it's really cool and how easy it is to use technology.
Yeah, I actually, for those of you that are real estate agents, I'm also a principal broker. I just went on to OAR, and there is the top 10 apps free webinar that they're offering. and Bomb Bomb was one of them. So Melissa, I'm really kind of excited that you are using it. And just out of curiosity, I haven't touched it yet, but is it one that's super easy when you guys are interfacing as far as connections and being able to get that interactive video going? Or I haven't even really looked at the application yet, but I was going to play around with it today.
Yeah, it's Heidi, it's really easy to use. And then one recommendation that I can give, and if you sign up, you'll get their tutorials, but it's really about personalizing it and letting people know from the start that they this is not a mass produced video, it's just for them. So you can hold up a whiteboard with the customer's name, and that will show in the intro so that they know this video was created just for them. And that really helps increase the click-through rate.
So, you know what, I just thought of something would be cool. So you guys, the first initial, think about this and saving, you know how we used to do photo albums for the home buyer when they're all done, and they're like, oh, this is before and after when the home's being built. Now you can do the whole experience of home shopping coming to you, Adair, or you attendees. It could be the first time you've met them, you've got it recorded. You can create a whole little series of, remember when we were 6 months ago, we got the home building process starting. And then you can actually take this application, it sounds like, on site while the home's being built or the remodel's being done or whatever it might be, or the home site's being selected, and you can actually walk the site with them. Is that what you guys are finding with your salespeople? Are they going out to the home sites? Are they using that application to go maybe meet with a project manager? You know, because we can't really, I know Washington just lifted the moratorium with certain regulations for construction. Oregon, we haven't had an issue, but we're having a way of doing inspections or a way of doing meetings with a home buyer. So would this be a good application to be doing that and then keeping it in your files?
You know, I look at this as definitely more of a sales tool. You could use it for that. Our construction superintendents are doing some FaceTime meetings for people who aren't comfortable being out on the job site. Our sales team, our business model is so unique with our lots being sometimes hours away from each other.
Right. Yeah.
That our sales team doesn't make it out to every job site. So we're not doing a lot of sales focused videos, but it's definitely something you could do. And if you had a paid account with them, you could save the videos.
Nice.
I think that's a great idea, Heidi.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. See, that's why we're here. Collaborate and come up with cool ideas for all of us. Awesome. So any questions, Scott, for Melissa before we get on? Because I know we want to make sure we stay with our timeline. You guys were trying to keep these brief webinars under 45 minutes. So if you do have interest, again, on learning more, wanting to have a longer webinar with Melissa, let us know on your feedback, and we'll do a longer half an hour discussion with her. We'd be happy to continue doing that. Scott, do you have any more questions for Melissa before we go on to our next panelist?
You know, I not for Melissa, but when you're ready, I'll have another question.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Let's go back to Mike here, and just Mike. You know, obviously, each one of you has a unique talent within your own industry, and you know, it would be a shame to leave this webinar and not know some of the key things that you think that you want to share with this audience. So it can be anything across the board about your business or your brand or what you think people should be looking, you know, forward to in the near future.
Wow, that's a big question to tackle there. So for us in our brand, so we're really an investment focused brand. So when it comes to buying, selling, renting, managing, acquiring, learning, educating, networking, anything in that investor arena, that's what we're for. So RareBird Real Estate's our company, and then Investor Lab is our event company for investors. So really, we just specialize in real estate investment, that thought process there. And then, you know, kind of a note, like what should people be doing or thinking of is just, it truly is, I'd say patience right now. I think if everyone could just have a little bit of patience, answers are not coming fast. New information's coming really fast and things are changing. And so I think just sitting back and having patience is super helpful right now. I'm having the same conversation with the same people over and over and again. And it's literally, it's just wait. The decision you need to make is like 4 or 6 weeks down the road. We'll have so much more new information by then. Don't get antsy and worried right now. Wait and make the decision at the time that's appropriate. So I think
Boy, that's
patience
hard
is
to
key.
do. Yeah,
It is
patience
super
is,
hard. Yeah.
boy,
Yeah.
no kidding. Hey, Mike, I wanted to kind of get on topic here because we know that a lot of our audience and people we're reaching out to are landlords. We know that there's a no eviction moratorium going on. It's statewide in the state of Oregon. We're based in Portland, Oregon, and the Portland metro area, let me rephrase that. But we do know that there are things that a landlord can do now while we're going through this process. And I'd love for you to share maybe the top 3 or 4 things that are in the forefront that the landlord should be doing if they haven't done already. And let us know again the dates. You had mentioned it on a 3-minute brief, the dates of when the no eviction is lifted. It's different between the city and it's different between the county and the state, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, well, I think I was wrong in that 3-minute video.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay, well, let's
So,
get it corrected.
yeah, and again, the information changing fastly, right? So in that 3-minute video, we essentially said eviction moratorium at the state level until July 1st. And then I thought it was July 10th for the city and the county. The city and county goes to that July 1st. So it's all from the state executive order. So it's executive order 20-13, which then puts an eviction moratorium on through July 1st. And then that includes notices. So you can't give any type of notices when it comes to that. So you can't give them a past, like a 72-hour, can't pay your rent notice. So essentially what you can do and what you should be doing is you should stay in communication, right? So if a tenant can't pay, there's nothing you can do about that right now, right? But what you can do is you can provide them support. You can show them where they can go to apply for rent assistance, for unemployment income, for business loans, SBA loans. So that's first and foremost, is communicate with your tenant, provide them resources if they need them or if they want them. The other thing is also don't allow them to be an ostrich with their head in the sand. So the worst scenario thing isn't missing one rent payment, but it's missing 1, 2, 3, and then having that stack. So like you can't send notices to start an eviction process or anything like that, but you can send tenant ledger notices, just an update, just say, hey, just wanted to let you know where you're, and then how do you deliver that message? So in a friendly way, you can deliver a message of, hey, we all know you haven't paid rent. We're not here to harp on you about paying rent, but we want you to be aware of what it's accruing to. And again, that's just being in communication, I think, is key for everybody at this point.
So I received as a landlord, a rent deferral agreement. And that came from, I think it was on the state website. Is that something that we should be getting out to our tenants?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yes, and then now no.
Okay.
So in understanding the chain of how events kind of happen. So the city of Portland and Multnomah County came out first. They came out before the state to create their own process. And then that did require 2 things. It required, 1, notify your landlord prior to April 1st. Now that language is as soon as possible. So prior to 1st, you had to notify them by then. And then at the city and county level, you had to provide hardship documentation. And so like Multifamily Northwest, some other organizations created then COVID forms, COVID hardship documentation forms. And so before the governor went with ordinance executive order 20-13, you had this period of time where a hardship mattered. And so we were sending out those hardship documentations to our tenants to just document that. Now it doesn't really matter. You don't have to provide hardship. And then at the state level has no requirements on a payment. There's no verbiage on a payment plan. What's nice about the city and the county is the county essentially came out and said, we're going to align with the state from a no notices, no hardship letter required, no documentation, that standpoint, but we are going to create this 6-month payback period of time. So at the city level or at the county level, you have a ordinance that clearly states what your options are for 6-month payment repayment plan. And then the city of Portland after that adopted Multnomah County to the entire city of Portland. So whether you're in the Tri-County area, Multnomah, Clackamas, Washington County, unincorporated, if you're in the city of Portland, then that county applies to everything. And essentially, a deferment plan doesn't matter anymore. So even the exact language in Multnomah County ordinance is, this does not require a tenant to sign a deferment payment plan, and it doesn't require a landlord to provide one. Because essentially what that says is, it just has to be paid within the 6 months. You can't dictate how that payment plan looks.
Okay.
So that's kind of the unfortunate thing, is everything's up in the air. If your tenant can't pay, you literally cannot do anything about that. And then the city, at the state, it's really ambiguous as far as when they have to repay. At the city and the county level, it's, you can't start an eviction period until after that 6-month repayment program's passed.
And this applies to anyone who owns any type of real estate, whether they own 5 units or more, or under 4 units. And then so the notices for eviction can't be given until July 1. But what about a termination of lease if they're under the 12-month mark? Because the Senate Bill 608 and the no eviction, there are some not matching information. So if somebody wants to terminate a lease, for example, they're under the 12-month mark and they say, look, I'm not going to renew the lease. I'm going to sell the house, or I'm going to get somebody else in there. Can those notices be given now?
Yeah, so that's, this is one where you definitely want to talk to an attorney. So kind of what you're getting to, so SB 608, if a tenant has, once you get 366 days or more, then you cannot give a no-cause termination.
Right.
Prior to that second year of residency, you can give a no-cause termination or a non-renewal of lease, right? So 2 different roads there. So if it's a month-to-month agreement, then what you're giving is a no-cause termination. You can't do that because, as defined at the state level, so you cannot evict for non-payment of rent, but then they defined no cause as part of that as well. So really it's non-payment of rent and no cause terminations. And so then now you delineate in that first year of residency, month to month requires a no cause or a no cause termination, which you definitely cannot do. Now, what about they're in a 1-year lease, and then you have to give them 90 days notice that you're not going to renew that lease. And so what if that period of time falls before July 1st?
Right.
So then the question for your attorney is, and I would reach out to the attorney and ask this exact question: would a non-renewal letter be considered a notice under that executive order? So if it is considered a notice under that executive order, now you're violating the executive order, which is a Class C misdemeanor. If it's not violating that executive order, then you can give that, so say they expire in September, right around that time. So you should be giving notice now, which would be prior to July 1,
right?
But the actual time for them to vacate is after July 1st, right? So that's the real gray area where you definitely want to get an attorney involved in that analysis.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm just like blown away that this is, I'm sure a lot of people have got this happening. And I do know that there's the forbearances that are out there. I've learned quite a bit about those. That's on a whole nother topic. And each bank is individual on that as well. I do want to kind of see, in regards to moving into after the July 1 happens, if people are going to be able to collect any rents whatsoever, have you discussed or thought about or know of the process of collecting rents and where that might be going? Or is it still ambiguous at this point?
Yeah, I mean, so essentially what's going to happen is they're just going to accrue deferment, right? And then you can't charge any penalties, you can't charge any late fees. And then if you're in the city, then you can't force anything upon them. So they can choose, like if they say they're $1,000 a month, say they get $3,000 behind, they could go 6 months without paying anything and then make a $3,000 payment on that last day. They could, make $100 payments consistently. They could not pay anything and the 6 months comes, and then now you have to file eviction. So there's a lot of different ways that can play out. But what I think the thing to understand is they're not forced to do anything. Right. And so you can't force them to do anything. And that's the important thing is, and then on the 6 month payment repayment program in and of itself, the damages are different. So the damages for that are 3 months of rent plus actual damages. And that can be the county can sue or the tenant can sue in that scenario. So if you start trying to go after a tenant for past due stuff and they're inside of that 6 month period of time, they can hire an attorney. You can pay them 3 months rent. You can pay for the attorney on top of that as well. So don't try if you're in the city of Portland, do not try and collect rent until 6 months after
July 1.
Which could potentially get extended, right? Because this is all subject to an emergency. So if the emergency pay attention and make sure it does not get extended. Yeah. And then if it does not extend it, wait until that.
I have another question that came up, and this was in regards to client they own under 4 rentals. Two are in the city of Portland. One is a hardship where tenant is not paying, forces them to go into a hardship with their loan, and possibly having them move back into the house. So because they fall under the 4 units and under, are the regulations different? And would they be able to, as of July 1, give them notice of termination? It's under the 12-month mark. And could they move back into the house and have the tenants leave before their 12-month termination? And apparently whatever wasn't paid is gone, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much is gone.
Yeah, well, you can still go, like, they still owe that, right? So there's no rent forgiveness in any of this. And every ordinance specifically says that this is not a forgiveness of rent. So in your specific question, the first thing I want to address is the 1 to 4 units, that it does not exempt you from anything. What it does is it'll accept relocation and the payment for relocation. So there's an exemption at the state level for having to pay it, but then you have to still go down that same route tree. So I just want to make sure that that's there. But yeah, if they're in a hardship and they're the scenario and then they need to move back in, then they can start that paperwork and those notices after July 1st, assuming that does not get extended. And then they just need to understand the various overlays of relocation, how they're paying it, whether they're exempt, whether they're not exempt. The city of Portland, to be exempt from relocation payment at the city of Portland, you have to get approval from the city of Portland. So you get a letter, and then that letter has to be acknowledged by the tenant going into the lease. So if you don't have a letter now, you're paying relocation.
And that actually comes from the Portland Housing Bureau, not the city of Portland. It's the Portland Housing Bureau. I was open to that information, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and I looked through that. So it's not the city of Portland, and but it is a subsidy of the city of Portland, right? The Portland Housing Bureau. Okay. Wow. So really it's just wait and hold until July 1. Really?
Unfortunately, yes. I mean, and that's where communication's key. Because at the end of the day, it's regulations out here, and that kind of gives you formwork on communicating with your tenants. But like if a tenant tells me, hey, I'm going to pay half my rent, for I'm going to get paid in 210 days instead of 180 days. Well, is that 30 days that big of a if they're making time? So everyone's going to have their own scenario. And so it's just understand what position are they in? How can you help them? How can you communicate with them? How can you create a plan for success? You're not forced to create a plan, but doesn't mean you don't, that it doesn't keep you from creating a plan, right? So you can't enforce a plan, but at least communicate with them and have that discussion, and then you can get because right now just an understanding of income and expenses is huge for anybody, whether you're a landlord, tenant, business owner, employee, whatever. And so that communication is how you understand your income versus your expenses.
Wow, it's just amazing right now. And I know that a lot of you guys out there, if you're owning real estate, it's tough. I get it. I'm one of them, and it's hard. And you got to make these really compelling, I wouldn't say compelling, sometimes they're just difficult conversations with the tenant, and you want to respect them. They need a place to live, as we all do, but you also want to preserve your real estate investment, your asset. So Mike, thanks so much. Doug, do you have any other questions from Mike before we go on to the next one, so we're cognizant of time?
No, I'm good.
All right. So I'm sorry, I don't know why I asked. I was meaning Scott. Scott was to ask Mike. I was looking at you for the next one, Doug. Scott, did you have any questions for Mike before we move on?
No, I'm all set. I think you did a great job on that.
Awesome. Cool. So Doug, I want to bring up some stuff. And again, Scott, you've got some questions for Doug, I know, regarding 1031 exchanging. There's been some new laws that came into effect. Scott, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, again, Doug, if you can just kind of share with us, you know, what do we need to hear right now? What should we be aware of? And whether it be timetables or great opportunities within the 1031 exchange. But, you know, we've got a few minutes here, so tell us what you think.
Well, I really want to speak again, Mike. I'm completing your sentences. You're doing a great job, because one of the things I'm telling my clients, the opportunity is not today, but don't stick your head in the sand. You've got to stick your head above the water, be looking around, because it's just around the corner. We all know that this thing happens so quickly that it needs to season just a little bit of time. And time is the demon of 1031 exchange. You know that. And we don't have much of it. But there's been a blessing created by COVID-19 in that extensions have been granted to 1031 exchanges, both ones before April 1st, as well as ones being open today and ones being opened in the future. To kind of give light to it, if you open a brand new exchange today, you don't have a normal 45-day window to identify. You have all the way till July 15th. Any exchange open now till June 1st, you get more than 45 days to identify. We're actually expecting further extensions on these numbers. IPX being the largest 1031 exchange company in the country, we are very much tied to the Treasury's hip when it comes to questions regarding our industry, along with the Federation of Exchange Accommodators. We are actually talking directly with Treasury Secretary Mnuchin in writing these laws. And in fact, truth be told, that our lead counsel, Susan Baker, is known as the 1031 exchange lady up at the White House. So they rely on us very heavily for information, because many of them don't know about what they're affecting. They don't own investment real estate. So it's like, what do you do? But we are at the present, if you open an exchange, again, the current law is not just a standard 45 days, but it's also not a standard extension. A standard extension is normally 120 days on both or either the 45 and the 180-day deadlines. It didn't do it this yet. They only gave an extension of the 45-day all the way out to July 15th. And if you have an open exchange that you had prior to April 1st, actually, let me clarify. If you open an exchange between April 1st and July 15th, or you have a 45-day deadline or a 180-day deadline land between April 1st and July 15th, you can participate in parts or all of this extension. Let me go over piece by piece very quickly. If you have just your 180th day land after April 1st of this year, that got extended out to July 15th of this year. So you got more time to close on the properties you already identified prior to April 1st. The second is you have your 45-day deadline after April 1st, which also means your 180 is after April 1st. That would extend your 45-day all the way out to July 15th, as well as your 180 out to July 15th.
Okay.
That's very, very powerful. However, if you have a client that had an exchange prior April 1st that took their money because they thought they failed the exchange, they can't put it back to complete this extension. So if you have an open exchange today, leave it in there. Listen to what Mike said. It's not now. Leave it in there, because any extensions that come, you're qualified for them, more than likely. But if you take the money out, you just disqualified yourself.
So do they, in these exchanges, Doug, do they need to, let's say people have got some that are within the time frame, is it an automatic extension, or how do they know that they have it, or how do they get the extension?
The law was written so that nobody could understand it, as they usually write it.
Thank you.
So we took it in a position of authority to say that it's not mandatory, but you're automatically granted the extension. That's the position we're taking with it, meaning that if you open a brand new exchange today, or you have one in play, you don't have to participate in the new timelines. Maybe you want to fail the exchange, you get your money back, right? So you don't want to wait till July 15th. So we're telling our clients that you have a choice, your original timelines or the extension, either or, okay? So you kind of run the course, let it run, and expect more. We're expecting more. We're expecting to have a full 120 extension, 120 days on both the 45 and the 180. That's what we're pushing for.
That was my
And
next question.
Yeah, we're seriously thinking we're going to get it.
Okay.
We're not guaranteed it. It's going to focus on opening up the economy. If by this grand
Right.
event of opening up the economy, and all of a sudden things are gone, which I know they're not going to be, how bad is it going to be to the actual economy? Can we function? Can the lenders function? Can title function? Can we work? Can builders work? Can things happen normally?
Right.
They won't. So we're pushing for that extension again.
And I think too, I can understand having the extension because it's so difficult to show properties right now. You know, you've got to go
difficult to
through
do
all this
anything.
extra protocol. Yeah, you got to do all this extra protocol if you want to go look at a property. I personally went to go look at a vacant property over the weekend and had to follow the protocol, even, you know, coming in and leaving the house. And there was nobody there. Nobody has even lived in this house for 2 years. But
Wow.
it was, yeah, but I still had to follow the protocol for showing and walking through it. So this means then your 45-day window of identifying a property, that will be extended right now to 45 days.
No,
July
to July 15th.
To July
It's more
15th.
It's more than 45 days.
Okay. Now, what about the 180 days of closing? Nothing has gone on that extension as of today.
Correct. It's still
Okay.
the original on new
Alrighty.
exchanges. It's the original 180. On old exchanges that, let's say your 180th day landed on April 2nd. That's a blessing for you. You just got an extra 6
Yeah.
months to close, but you can't identify
Right.
anything new.
Right.
So
Okay.
I like to focus on the ones that haven't sold yet. I need to get them to sell and put their money into an exchange because there's so many opportunities coming at us at light speed, like Mike said, and they're just around the corner.
So get them in before July 15th. If you're
Well-
doing exchanges, what would you recommend? Like, for example, if somebody wants to, and I'm seeing a lot of you guys, honestly, we are so fortunate. I'm going to do a little tidbit for you guys and I'll get back to your question. We are one of the only states that has raised our prices in the last 60 days. Everyone else has gone down. We raised our prices by 1.8%. We're the only ones that are doing construction. We're the only ones that are actually got a good market, and we've got listings and sales happening. So I just wanted to be, you know, we are in a good market. We're not in your go-go years, but we're in a good market. So with that being said, somebody goes in and help us understand. They go in and they're going to be, what can we do for selling and buying right now between now and say July 15th?
Okay, so a lot of my clients are calling me saying, Doug, I can sell in a seller's market. I see a little pain coming. I don't want to play with it. I'm selling and taking the cash. I can't find anything in 45 days. I'm taking the tax hit and leaving and taking the money off the table. They're not reinvesting.
Wow.
Big mistake. I'm explaining to them, you need to at least put the money into the exchange because with this expanded 45 days, we have until July 15th to let some of these opportunities present themselves that normally would never have a chance to even show up. And if they get a further extensions, even more time.
Wow.
I mean, it'd be kind of a tragedy to say, take the money, you find out you have 6 months to identify. What are you gonna do then? You can't put it back.
Right.
But I mean, I would love to speak to Melissa about opportunities I'm dealing with developers. I mean, there's so many things happening. Kind of get a gist of this. Time is my enemy. In a 1031 exchange, we only have usually 180 calendar days, a little short window of opportunity, and only 45 stinking days to find something.
Right.
I can sell in a seller's market, but it's a heck of a lot harder to buy in a buyer's market because you don't have time to let it happen. You got,
Right.
they take 6 months to a year to develop between a seller's and a buyer's market.
Right.
But guess what? Because of the COVID, it compressed itself and we get an extension with the 45 days out to July 15th or maybe longer. Get this, you can sell in a seller's market and this thing will rotate on itself to be a seller's market to many investors that have to unload. The market won't be a seller's market, but there will be need. And we have time to position ourselves to take advantage of that need. So I'm excited. Never in my 20 years have I had this happen. So
No kidding. That's awesome. This is great information. Again, if you guys want more on this, we're happy to do an extended webinar with Doug because there's a lot of complexities to 1031 exchanging. And I know Doug is just amazing to work with. So Scotty, do you have anything for Doug before we go on and have Tiny come on?
Doug, again, thank you so much. We had you at our office most recently, and we thank you for the update. You're always an excellent speaker, so thank you so much.
I hope they never take 1031 away because I won't know what else I would do, guys. Thanks for coming on.
You come join us. All righty. So Tiny, I want to bring you in because I know there's some really great things to do based on all this information as being a real estate investor, builder, whatever it might be, is getting this house in order, our business house in order. Would like to know a couple things as kind of what are the 3 to 4 things, key items a business leader needs to address right now in regards to getting their house in order, and more importantly, as Mike referenced, is communicating with our staff, communicating with our clients, and messaging.
Well, it's funny, it's ironic that you have me go last, because what I say ties with everything that everybody else has to say.
That's why I had you go last.
It's really, I mean, I work with entrepreneurs, I work with business owners across all industries. And it doesn't matter what industry that you're in right now, I'm telling you the same thing. The first thing I'm telling you is don't panic. You know, your employees, your vendors, your clients are looking at you, and they're just looking at everything that you do. And one of the easiest analogies I've got is in my life, I've flown almost 1 million miles. I was on a plane multiple times a week. And I've had some seriously scary instances in the air. And I always position myself where I'm on the aisle where I can have direct eye contact with the flight attendant, because I know the flight attendant's done this 1 million times. And I make eye contact with that flight attendant. And if that flight attendant's calm and just cool, I'm calm and cool. If the flight attendant is panicking, I'm panicking. And that's what I'm telling my clients right now. Everybody within your organization is looking at everything that you do, not just what you do, but how you do it as well. One of my favorite quotes through this whole process is by a guy, his name's Art Leffer. He worked in the Reagan administration, and he always said that decisions made when you're either panicking or drunk rarely turn out the way you want them to.
Let's not do either.
There's a lot of that, a lot of both going on right now. So what I'm telling people is just calm down, find a centered space. And if you're panicking, call me and talk to me until you're not panicking, because that's what I'm here for. The next big thing that you've got to do is you got to make yourself a 90-day plan. You've got to get through this 90 days. And at this point, survival, it's more than just survival. You need to get to that one level below survival. And
that was actually, Mike, on our Tiny on that. You said the 90-day plan, though. What kind of, in a little bit of detail, what does that look like? Just in a high level, it doesn't have to be, you know, but it'd be nice to know, kind of put our mindset in that focus of what a 90-day plan should be. What should we be thinking about to put into that plan?
The first thing that you're going to do is communicate. And you've got to make a commitment to communicate, because as a business leader, you are a communicator, whether you like it or not. You have to be. And with that, you've got to make a decision on what you're going to communicate and how you're going to communicate. And I'm the firm belief that you need to treat your employees like adults. And it's okay right now, because there's so much fear and so much uncertainty, and things are changing. We heard from the other 3 panelists, things are changing on a daily basis. And so it's okay to make a decision and come back and say, you know what, we're going to change course based on this new information. Now is no time for pride to get in the way. It's okay to say, you know what, we're going to hold off, or we're going to change directions now. It's okay to do that, or to say I was wrong. Because we're going to make a commitment to make decisions based on the information that we have right now. Really, I mean, I mentioned this earlier, in our teaser, extreme situations, they demand extreme communication. And just because you've said it doesn't mean that people have heard it or understand it, or they believe it. And so you've got to make it, with the communication, it's not just what you say, but it's how you say and how often you say it, and not just using one avenue of communication. And people, what we've learned is people respond differently. So use text messages, use emails, use video conferencing, use live phone calls, use a carrier pigeon or a smoke signal if you have to. Whatever you need to do, because you have different personalities within your organization that are going to respond to different ways of communication. So
I'm
keep that in
noticing
mind.
people. Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of the affiliates I'm have a good business relations with. I'm seeing that even their websites are changing. So to handle the virtual component of doing business, but also to relay the message from the top down.
Absolutely.
Which is real interesting, and because I do know those that are in sales are the front line, and they're the ones that are trying to manage the clients and the expectations of what's coming up. I do private financing. I know how we've been able to manage our clients when the draws have gone from every 2 weeks down to every 30 days. And how do you share that, and how do you help your client manage their draws in that perspective? What things are you seeing? We're kind of seeing an opportunity here where people have been laid off, and this is going to go into a different question. So, I was out for a walk the other day, and I started thinking about, I just got notice that 3 of my really good friends got laid off, and I was like, wow, it's going to be an interesting time for them now because they're extremely experienced. There is a lot of opportunity out there, but not everybody's ready to pull the trigger to hire. So those that have been laid off, or those companies that have streamlined their internal processes and streamlined and kind of hunkered down to the skeleton crew, what are you seeing in your clients right now and adjusting and having an opportunity of who decide that they're going to bring on or replacing, or what are you getting on with your discussions with your business clients in that perspective? Is it clean house and replace, or is it hold on and bring them back, or what do you think?
There's a lot in there. I mean, that's a jam-packed question statement because there's a lot of things that you can talk about. We could spend an hour just talking about that. I think it's critical as a business owner, first of all, when you have to make these tough decisions on what to do with your staff, if there are people that you have to lay off and furlough, that you have the direct communication with them. Like Mike said, just because, you're going to, when you, in your communication, it's about providing resources, it's providing help. It's really, as you're talking to the people, if you're having to let them go, providing them a packet to say, here are the resources that can provide you assistance. And then again, when it's an opportunity for some companies to say, maybe it's time to pivot and we want to reallocate our resources and shift our focus a little bit. And so with that, we're going to need to bring on new people with new skill sets. It's a time to do that. I mean, as a business owner and entrepreneur, that's the ability that you have right now. There's just a lot of uncertainty, but I can tell you one thing, that doing absolutely nothing because you're afraid right now is completely unacceptable. Because if you do nothing, that means you will fail. And it's being intentional about what you do and building that plan. One of the things that we talked briefly about is making, as a business owner, creating a desired statement for where you want to be in 90 days when you come out of this, and be very specific about this, and bringing your team with you. It's not just you as a business owner, but it's like, you're going to create a desired statement of where you're going to be in 90 days, and bring your team, communicate internally. And that way people have ownership. And part of that is really, it's, being specific. It's getting that one level below survival, giving yourself, small wins that you can do within 24, 48 hours to start to build some momentum and start to build up team morale again. Because right now, again, with all the fear and all of this uncertainty, people are looking to business leaders for some stability. And how can we get some wins in our belt?
Yeah, I think you had just noticed wins. Every day, I think it's important to find that win. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a personal, it can be business, but I have fun. I literally have a blast, and I never have before, but I'm having fun on LinkedIn. It's crazy, but I'm having a good time. And I'm like, why not? It's there. I might as well use it for my marketing purposes. And because I can't go do my networking. I'm a meet and greet, as most of you know. I love to go meet and greet, and I love to go and work a room and handshake with everybody. But you know what? I'm doing it a different way. And the hardest thing for me was getting on a camera. But here we are. We're on it. So awesome, you guys. I know we've got to wrap up. I would love to know, Melissa or Jen, not Melissa, sorry, Jen or Haley, whoever has the questions. Scott, did you guys get any questions coming in from our attendees?
No, I didn't see any.
Okay, awesome. I wanted to also note to you guys, we do have, thank you very much, Susan, for chatting in on that. We appreciate you attending. Also from, oh, Keith, awesome. Hey, Keith, that's one of my clients. Good to see you. Excellent, thank you. Hey, we've got upcoming webinars we're scheduling right now. One is on May 19th, Giving in Our Business, Why Does It Matter? June 2nd, these will all be posted for you guys on our brief LinkedIn page, as well as our YouTube. We're doing everything through YouTube, but our brief, BREF, Builder and Real Estate Forum LinkedIn page. June 2nd is one of them, financial planning and tax tips, because your taxes are due on July 2nd, or July 15th, sorry. That's a big date, Doug, by the way. July 15th is tax day. And then June 16th, Taking the Heat. What you can do when the situation gets heated and overcoming objections. We're going to be focusing on those 3 topics. If any of you have any topics you want us to cover, please send them our way. We would love to have any input on our LinkedIn pages. You can even email Scott and I. Most of you have our emails. I'm Heidi Hawk, realestate@gmail.com. Scott Dunn is dunnportland@gmail.com. And we are also going to have info@briefteam.com, BREF team.com. Thanks so much, you guys, for being a part of our community. And we hope we can help to bring better value to your real estate investor business. Thank you so much and have a great day. Talk soon.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you,
Ciao.
Heidi.
Thanks, you guys.